was a dream come true, and I'm happy that I had that. I felt like I needed that to be where I'm at today. And going forward, I think that everything that I learned there is just going to make me the better player and the better person I need to be for this organization going forward. And I'm just so thankful and for my time there, but I'm excited about this next one.
Can't believe this is real. On Friday, the Hawks traded the face of their franchise to the Wizards in exchange for C.J. McCollum and Corey Kispert. And Jarvis is back with me now. Trae Young's been a part of trade speculation for years. It feels like every single year his name is linked to some kind of a trade. Why was now the right time?
Because when you think about what Trae has done and how they've been kind of searching for like that. We talked about the Falcons, we're talking about vision and clarity and where we're going as an organization. I think that you had to make this move right now because that's the only way it's going to be clear for you. Because you can say, oh yeah, all we got to do is add some guys with size and to get around Trae and we can be better defensively. But you're not necessarily going to really get an answer to that until he's not here anymore. So I think it was the right time. And it's clear that honestly, Soleil wants to be able to have some direction with this organization, which I'm totally fine with.
Yeah, they've been shifting in a different direction for quite some time, and clearly Trae never really fell into the mix of that. What do you think his legacy should be here in Atlanta?
I think Trae is a guy that should be recognized as the guy like to embrace the city and really and understand the culture that's here. And when he came here, some people were upset, because they traded away Luka Doncic, but he was a guy that came in. He was the villain. He had the times with the New York Knicks. So I absolutely love that. I love him embracing that role. So yeah, Trae should be remembered as a guy. Hey, he was probably about an ankle sprain away from making it to the NBA Finals and potentially winning an NBA championship out of nowhere. And he was a guy that embraced the city, and I think that Atlanta fans should appreciate him for that.
If he did not step on that ref's foot, man, we could be talking about an NBA championship or at least visitation to the NBA championship. Real quick, why do you think it didn't work out here with Trae?
I think, for those reasons, right? Like you had that run and then you were never able to build off of that. And then you had different structures and people behind the scenes pulling strings or people that were different from the people that were actually in position to make those decisions. So yeah, I think it was ultimately lack of clarity, lack of vision, and he wasn't a part of the plan going forward.
All right, we'll see what happens when the Wizards come here in February, how the fans will receive Trae. But I did talk to a former Hawks executive all about Trae Young's legacy. Here it is. Continue our Trae coverage right now. Let's bring in an expert on the matter. Former Atlanta Hawks Vice President of Basketball Operations, now NBA on NBC Insider, and the man that knows everything about basketball, Mr. Grant Liftman. Grant, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I appreciate being here. It's going to be fun.
You needed a Los Angeles size intro is what I was trying to do. But what was your initial reaction to the Trae trade news when you heard that this was finally happening? He was shipping out of Atlanta for the first time in 7.5 seasons.
Yeah, obviously it's a monumental moment, obviously, for Atlanta sports, and he's just been a figurehead of everything Hawks, right, for that many years. But to be fair, the writing has been on the wall, especially since the offseason when he was not extended, and there really was no discussion of extending him. And it really was one of those question marks of could he make it work with the new era of basketball that's happening, with the players they acquired? Could he be part of that next cycle of Hawks basketball? To be fair to him, also, like the injury didn't help anything, right? Missing time, so he wasn't able to assimilate as much into the group. But at the same time, when he was out there, you could just tell it didn't mesh. It wasn't clicking the right way.
Yeah, it's shocking when your franchise player moves on, for sure. That's the biggest thing that we're trying to wrap our heads around is what's next for the Hawks? What do you think a move like this actually signals for the future of that organization?
Looking forward now is what do you build around the team that's already there? Jalen Johnson's having an all-star type year. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's played great. Dyson Daniels now under contract. You have Onyeka under contract and Zachary Risachet, who is the first overall pick. So you have a lot of bones that are really good for the team. So what do you need to add to keep on getting better? And really it comes down to without Trae, there is no primary playmaker. Right now, they have a lot of secondary great playmakers, Jalen Johnson and Dyson. These guys can really, if a second unit, a ball in their hands, but really it's a primary guy, a guy that really set the offense, get it going, a guy who can bring up the ball up the court without any fears of turnovers in the backcourt, a guy who can create for himself a little bit. That would be something that they should get, but it's hard, right? You have to find the right guy. You can't just pick anyone. And then also just some rim defense. They were hoping Kristaps Porzingis this year was going to be that for them. It has not worked out so far for a multitude of reasons. So really, can they bring in somebody that solidifies that defense? Because this team has a chance to be a really good defensive team with their point of attack defense and their wing defense.
Grant, you said something really interesting here, because a lot of people look at Jalen Johnson and they think that now he's the number one. He is the future. He is the face. He is everything that is Atlanta Hawks. Why do you think they also need someone else in addition to that?
You know, Jalen Johnson is one of these guys that can do it all, right? He can rebound, he can assist, he can score. He has so many different facets to his game. But sometimes a Swiss Army knife isn't your primary guy. Really, at the end of the day, you still need somebody that can just have the ball in his hands and create. And it's not as much what we're talking about with Trae Young, where it was like he dominated the ball, but you need someone to initiate offense, who can get into the paint, drive, and initiate.
Let's wrap things up with Trae really quickly. He goes to the Washington Wizards, and a lot of people are looking at this move and saying, what the heck? Why does this make sense? Why do you think Trae going to Washington ultimately made sense at this moment in time?
From the Washington perspective, it makes sense because for them, they actually, and this is a funny part of the CBA that people don't really know as much, you actually have to hit a salary floor. And the team didn't have enough contracts going into next year because CJ McCollum, who the Hawks acquired, was going to be an expiring contract. So they could have either re-signed CJ to a big number, they could have tried to find somebody to come and pay them, or what you can do is just find the guy right now, Trae Young, try to revitalize his career, try to see if he can either build with you or maybe even just make him into more of an asset so another team comes get him. All those things help the Washington Wizards moving forward. They also, in the process, Corey Kispert, who came over to the Hawks, some may say that maybe he is a good player that fits with the Hawks, but also his contract didn't necessarily vibe with whatever the Washington Wizards are doing. And I'm not sure if it even fits exactly what the Hawks are doing, to be honest with you. He's a good player, but that money is significant over the next few years. So a lot of it is just salaries and how they're going about their CBA's construction. But at the end of the day, also, what a cool risk to take is just getting Trae Young to be with your team and try to, I don't know, play some inspirational basketball.
It's going to be weird to see him in a Wizards uniform. We got to get used to that. But they do come to State Farm Arena in February, so hopefully Trae gets that standing ovation that he so rightfully deserves. Grant, thank you so much. Appreciate your insight as always.
Thanks for having me.